This is the lesson video for Chapter 5, Part 2. We come to the third section of the chapter, and in this section we're going to cover nested functions, general functions, the NVL function, the NVL2 function, the null if function, the coalesce function, conditional functions, the decode function, and the case expression. First, we'll look at nested functions, and we've seen this example before. And we'll go to SQL Developer. This is a nested function, and it's a simple nested function. So we have a tochar in the column section of the select statement. This basically converts a numeric value to a string and uses this mask to display it in this format. So this is basically a nested function in the column section of the select statement. Now we come to general functions, and first we look at the NVL function. So here we have the employee ID column, then the commission percent, and if you remember, some employees have commissions and others don't. So let me just look at well, let me see. And I have to do this. I'm gonna go to the employees table, and we go to the commission and commission percent. Some employees have commission, some don't, some do. Alright, so in our example here, we use the NVL function, and what this does, it replaces in the commission percent, we're gonna look at whatever employee doesn't have a commission, and if they don't have a commission, they're gonna have a null. So it's gonna replace the null with 0.01, and we're gonna have an alias of com_PCT for commission, short for commission percent. So again, it replaces null values with the value that we give it. Alright, and this is the NVL function, and whatever is not null, it's gonna leave it the same. So this here for employee 144 does have a commission. If they don't have a commission, we specify that we want 0.01, so it'll replace null with the value we give it, and whatever doesn't have null, it'll just leave it the same. Right? And again, this is only to display. If you go to the table and you refresh, it's still going to be the original data, right? This is only to display data, and we're using the NVL function to replace nulls with the value we give it, right? And first we state the column, and then we state the value that we want to give it. And that's the NVL function. Now we go to the NVL2 function. The examples I have here are a little bit different than the book. They use the same columns and tables. The only thing I made them simpler because the book makes them a little bit more complicated, and the examples I have here are easier to read, easier to understand. Okay, so in the NVL2 function, we use employee ID, again commission percent, and here we look at the commission percent, and if it's not null, it's gonna give us a Y, and if it doesn't have any commission percent, it's gonna give us an N. So let me run it and see here. We don't have anything, So if it's null, if it's true, if it's false, it's going to give us a y. If it's true, it's going to give us an n. So MVL is also looking for nulls. So if it is null, it's going to give us the second parameter that we stated after the column. And if it's not null, it's going to give us a y. I made this example just to display whether the yes y for yes and n for no, and just to state whether the employee has a commission or not, and we gave it this abbreviation column, abbreviated alias, sorry. So if you see, now we go, somebody has commission and we have a y. Okay, and there might be some cases where people need to know this information, not necessarily the details of the amount, but maybe just yes or no. That's all we want to know, yes or no. And again, remember, this could databases can get millions of records long, and functions like this can make the job easier for in some cases. So that's the MVL2 function. Now we go to nullIf. So basically what nullIf does, it looks in a column, and then it looks in that column for a value that you give it. And if it finds a value, it'll just give it a null value. So let's go ahead and run it so it can make a little bit more sense. So we're looking for 3,000, and we go down the list. So if it doesn't find 3,000, it'll give it the value that the original column has. But if we find 3,000, let me see. I think it's towards the end. I don't want to skip it here. Here it found 3,000, and it gave it the null value. The function gave it a null value. Again, this doesn't change the original data. The original data stays the same. This is it is the employees table. So the original data stays the same. It's the way it's displayed that changes. So that's nullIf. It looks for a value in the column you state, and then if it finds the value, it'll just give it a null. If it doesn't find the value, it'll give it the original value. So now we come to the coalesce function, and let's look at this in SQL Developer. So what this function does, it looks into a column, and it looks for the column. If this is, it looks here, I gave it 2 columns, and I think it have up to 3 columns. So it looks for a phone number. If it doesn't, if an employee doesn't have a phone number, let me see if anybody. Okay, here we have an employee doesn't have a phone number. So what what this function is asking us, it's trying to get the phone number. So if that person doesn't have a phone number, it'll look for the email next. All right. So this is a scenario where somebody wants to get the contact information, so they get in touch with the employee. They first want to talk to him by phone. If they cannot get if they don't have a phone number, they want to send them an email. So I'm going to go ahead and run this column. So here we have the phone number, and here we have the email, and here we have the function, the result of the coalesce function. And this first employee does have a phone number, so we list the phone number. This second employee doesn't have a phone number, but it has an email, so we get the email instead, right? And everybody has a phone number. Here we have another employee, doesn't have a phone number, but it has an email, so we list the email. All right. So basically, it looks for it looks into columns. It looks in an order, and it looks for the first non-null value. So now we come to the decode function. Okay, here we're going to look at employee ID, phone number. Then we have the decode function, and it's going to look for a phone number. And we're going to look for this value in phone number. It could be an actual phone number, or it could be well, it is a phone number, so we would have to look for a phone number. But we're looking for a null, so we're looking for employees that do not have a phone number. So if they don't have a phone number, we're gonna say no phone. And if they have a phone, which is the opposite of null, we're gonna state that just simply phone. All right, and we're gonna call this column. We get an alias of phone. So we go to the phone number. We go to the phone number column, and we look at the value. If it has a value, we're going to state phone. If it has a null, we search for null, right? If we search for null, if we get a null, we're going to say no phone. All right. So it's basically stating one or the other thing, depending on what we're looking for. Right. Again, this could be very helpful if you have thousands and thousands of employees, and usually databases are huge. I've seen databases that go into millions of records. So that's the decode function. Now we go to the case function. So this is where you're looking for multiple things. We're looking into the employees table. We do a select and we get employee ID, salary, but then our third column we have a select function, and we're looking for several things. We're looking for where salary is greater than 14,000, and if it is greater than 14,000, we state high salary. And again, this is just a simple example. If it's greater than 8,000 and less than 14,000, less than or equal to 14,000, we state mid salary. Right. And finally, we look for a third third condition, and if salary is less than 8,000, we say low salary. Again, don't put too much attention to the values. This is just a simple example. Alright, so we look for salary, and the first value is 2100, so that is less than 8,000, so we state low salary. Right. So I sorted it by salary, so we're gonna go low salary, and then we go to mid salary. So here we have 8,000, so it meets this condition and it meets this condition. It's less than or equal to 14,000, and it's equal to or greater than 8,000. So we state this string, which is mid salary, and then we go to the last one, which is the third condition, which is greater than 14,000. And if it's greater than 14,000, we state high salary. Alright. So in a case function, we look for multiple scenarios. And if we find those multiple scenarios, we we can state something, or we can do another arithmetic function, or we can do something else. Right? We can multiply something by something. We can subtract something from something, and so on. This concludes the lesson video for Chapter 5, Part 2.